Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard101 guide video. Today I'm going to be doing something that, I don't know if this is going to be well received or not, but, I want to do it anyway for anyone looking for it in the future. Is a guide video on the spells for each school, which ones to use, which ones not to use, because there's definitely certain spells that you're not going to want to use, and this is kind of a guide explaining, like, which ones you should probably, that are less useful than others, so you kind of know how to form a deck and whatnot in the future. Obviously, I'm going to go in kind of level order, so you can kind of see which ones are useful and which ones are not. So, you're going to get loaded into the game, right, if you're creating a fire wizard, which I'm doing fire, by the way, today, because it's first, like, sequentially, whatever. When you load up a fire, you have Fire Cat, which you're probably going to keep in your deck till about level 15-20 in Crocotopia, which is pretty cool. It's a useful spell in the beginning. So you're going to get that, right? And I believe the next spell you'll get is Fire Elf at level 5. But at around the exact same time as that, you're going to get Fire Blade, which is obviously one of the most useful spells for a fire wizard, because blades are incredibly useful. So you're going to keep that in your deck the entire game, most definitely, unless you're going against a boss that removes blades. Yeah, at the same time, you're going to get Fire Elf, which is pretty useful all around. It can be useful in PvP, I think, at lower levels, and it'll also be useful against enemies with their overtime. At level 10, you're going to get Sunbird. You're also going to get Shield, Glacial Shield is it called, I think. Yeah, Glacial Shield, which you're not going to use. That's probably a more PvP-oriented thing, and I can't imagine you would use it. Fire Prism, you're gonna get at around level 7, I think, and you're gonna use if you need to in battle against fire enemies. I'm not gonna do all these spells like this. I'm just kind of like gonna glance over some of them. Fire Trap, usually I don't use normal traps, but I do use Feint a lot, so at level 20 you're gonna want to get Feint. Excuse me. Fire Shield, you're probably never going to use. Steel Charm, you could use that could come in handy. Probably don't keep it in your deck all the time. Same with Smokescreen, it's probably a more of a PvP oriented thing. Take Power, never going to use that. Backdraft can be useful. It's the equivalent of Storm's Supercharge, except it's a trap. So if you want to do a lot of damage, you can do that. Mega Tranquilize, you were never going to use. Detonate, you could use. It's a useful spell. There is the strategy of using multi-detonate that you get with the Dahlia Falmea hat, that I probably will, I might go over that strategy at some point. It's a very useful strategy, and you can use it to one-shot a lot of bosses. So there's that. Wildfire, you could use that if you want a little bit of an extra boost, but you're probably not going to. Quench, you can use against fire cheating bosses. Link, not important. Heckhound, there is a few bosses that's useful for, specifically in the late game. The ones that like specifically the last boss of Imperia, you're gonna want to blade up a fire wizard and then use Heckhound. It's probably the most effective way to kill him. Choke, not useful, besides in probably PvP. Fuel could be useful, but not really. Tranquilize, no. Mass Fire Prism's useful in late game. Sunbird, you're gonna want to use during a lot of the level 20s to 30s. You're probably gonna use it. Fire Elemental, no. Immolate, if you want to, you can use it. It does do a lot of damage, especially for a 4-pip thing. If you want to use that, you can. Obviously, you take 250 damage, which isn't a lot, but yeah. Meteor Strike's incredibly useful. Power Link, not so much. Krampus, no. Phoenix, you're probably going to want to keep that in your deck in the 40 to 50 range, or more to 30 to 40 range. Scald can be incredibly useful. It's part of that strategy I told you guys, or I mentioned earlier. Elephant, definitely a good attack spell at level 48 upwards. But one of the most useful spells right next to it is Fire Dragon. you're gonna want to use Fire Dragon for a lot of boss battles, most likely, especially if you're in solo. It's incredibly useful. It's similar to Stormlord, Forest Lord, or Thrust, all the spells that do damage to all, Power Nova. It's like those. Keep it in your deck. Honestly, you can keep it in your deck for a long time. It's just incredibly useful. Scarecrow is also another one. Ifrit is going to be you're going to want to be your main attacking spell from levels like 58, I think, when you get it onwards. That's probably going to be one of your main attacking spells. Until you get Shadow Magic. But as a replacement to that, once you reach Chrysalis, King Artorias is slightly better, so you're going to want to use King Artorias instead. I still use King Artorias, like in Detritus rounds and stuff like that. Rain of Fire is one of the most useless spells. In my opinion, it's one of the most useless spells. Just the overtime being more than the main hit isn't worth it, in my opinion. Sun Serpent, it's decent, but it costs too many pips, in my opinion, so... if you want to use it, Scion of Fire, I've never found this to be the best, but it does do a lot of damage. It does one of the most fire damage in the game, so if you want to, go ahead. Scorching Scimitars is probably going to be your shadow attack spell at levels like 110 onwards, right? Fire from Above is also going to be a main attacking spell because it does do a lot of damage. And Rage Bull is going to be your main hit all for, like, if you're soloing or if you want to get the quest done fast. So, that's all of the fire spells that I've just listed. And now that I've kind of gone over which ones are useful and which ones are not, I'm going to tell you which ones you are really useful and you're going to want to use late game. In regards to late game, I can put on my Fire's boss deck right here. This is more oriented towards Detritus currently, with my blades, and then we have Fire Dragon, King Artorias, which I mentioned, and then Rage Bull. All incredibly useful spells. Artorias is just useful because it does one of the most damages without needing a Shadow Pip. Obviously, you're going to want to include Scorching Scimitars in there if you're like questing in case you get a Shadow Pip before you can, before Artorias is able to be used. It does slightly more damage than Artorias as well. Fire from Above is also pretty useful. It does a lot more than Scorching Scimitars or King Artorias. The reason why I include Rage Bull is because it's a very useful hit all. It's like Fire Dragon but better. I would probably include Fire Dragon anyway in a late game deck. But basically, what I'm trying to say here is that it's useful to include spells from the past, and just generally spells that you get over time, because just including late game spells in your deck isn't really the best way to go about it. So if you learned something from this video, hopefully you did. I don't really like this video. I don't really like any of this. But it's a guide video that I'm making in case anyone needs it. Please, I'm sorry if this isn't what you want. If this isn't what you want, don't watch it. You don't need to watch these videos. I don't ask anyone to watch my videos. I'm just including them in case someone does need them. So that's it for this video. If you did enjoy, drop a like, hit the sub button. If you didn't, you can drop a dislike too. I'm saying a lot because I don't really know what to say. But that's it. More videos like this in the future. I'll try to think of some other guide videos that aren't that are more useful and are less like me just kind of listing every single spell and what's useful and what's not. But we'll get to that when we get to that. So see you then. Have a fantastic day. Thank you all for watching.